Welcome back to Solomon's Porch with your host, Jason.
And Sean.
And we are back with another round 5. This time, we're going to be doing our top anti-heroes. I said at the beginning of the show, I don't know if we've actually done this. I didn't go back and look, but I know that this list is different.
Oh, absolutely.
I know for sure. If we did it before, there might be 2 of these people that are on the same list. But, yeah, man, let's go ahead and dive into it. Sean, you want to start us off?
Sure. So, yeah, an anti-hero is really anybody that it performs things, actions in a manner that would be consistent with a hero, but lacking some of the attributes of a hero. So, like some sort of moral code or maybe something along those lines. So somebody who's not on any of our lists, but I think that everybody could probably recognize as being a great anti-hero descriptor would be Deadpool.
Yeah.
So, definitely not like, Superman, good guy hero, but still ends up doing some good by way of his other whatevers. So keep that in mind. All right. So my number 5, Kylo Ren. So, here's a guy that struggled with, balance between good and evil in his life, did some really bad junk in throughout the movies, but ultimately ends up coming around and still ends up doing good stuff even when he does some of the bad stuff too. So I think that taking out Snoke was definitely among those.
Yeah.
So I think that's what sealed the deal with him being an anti-hero, is that even though he still had the agenda of taking over First Order at that point in time, it was still also taking out Snoke because he saw how bad Snoke was. So
He took out the bigger evil.
yeah, the bigger
Gotcha.
of two evils.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah, so Kylo Ren.
My number 5, now this is almost obvious. A lot of people might have him on the list, or he might be more well known as Venom.
Yeah.
So, whether it's from the comics to the movie, you got this character that, he's ultimately trying to do the right thing. There's a lot of bad things that happen in the way, to the point where people are looking for him and trying to lock him up and things like that. Even more so accurately than what they do like Spider-Man or even Batman. So, to me, he's a good character. We're going to see kind of the anti-hero, the anti-more portion come out, whenever he meets Spider-Man. Whenever that's going to show up, we don't know yet. But, you definitely see that more there than when you do whenever he's trying to take out Carnage and bite his head off and spit it out. So, he takes out bad guys by biting their heads off. And things like that are kind of classic.
I do that.
Anti-heroes. So, yeah, number 5, Venom.
All right. So, we've already kind of mentioned this guy, so it's not going to be any great surprise. And by the way, the anti-hero was not solely, obviously, from movies, but could also be comic books or comic book / movie crossovers.
Yeah.
So we kind of span the whole spectrum there. So my number 4 is John Wick. So here's a guy that he was a hitman. That was his thing. And, by way of some bad junk that's happened to him, he ends up doing good stuff by taking out bad guys. So still kind of a selfish thing, but at the same, or for that matter, just self-preservation, really, but still taking out the bad guys. So falls into that category of anti-hero for sure. I'm not saying the movies are deep or anything like that. They're really just there for fun, for the violence and the action. So I pull no punches on it. So it is what it is.
Yeah, man. My number 4 is Rocket Raccoon.
Who? What?
Yeah, Rocket. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Who? Rocky Raccoon from the Beatles song, right?
No.
Rocky Raccoon.
Not quite. No, this is Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, I'll get that arm.
No.
Mr. Greedy, want everything for himself. Whenever he's talking to Thor in Infinity War, Thor's like, I have nothing to lose. He's like, well, I got a lot I can lose. Yeah. So he's not really wanting to do these bad, these tough missions, and he decides he's going to anyway. Just a selfish, greedy little guy who ends up doing the heroic things and still trying to get a little bit of paid on the inside. So,
Gotcha.
He's not quite the Judas of the Guardians, but for enough money, he might would turn somebody over. He might would.
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, he's got a little bit of a heart though, pun intended. So yeah, man. Number 3.
I don't know that you can clarify that he does, but that's all right. All right. So, I don't know that we could have ever said this until more recently, that this particular person falls into the category of anti-hero. And Boba Fett. I mean, again, we knew him solely as a bounty hunter forever.
Right.
Did he ever do something slightly good-ish? Yeah. But certainly in the Book of Boba, we definitely get where he's doing good things. He's kind of turned things around, but he's still also selfish. He's still also wanting to rule his little crime syndicate as well. So definitely not just straight out hero. So we've got our anti-hero in Boba Fett. Despite all my criticisms for the show and how poorly that they executed it, I would still say that he ranks pretty high in terms of what an anti-hero could be, should be, and it's Star Wars. So what?
You got to put Star Wars in there, right?
Yeah, at least twice, evidently.
Okay, there you go. So my number 3 is, again, this is a popular one. A lot of people probably have on their list, is Wolverine.
Yeah.
Definitely slashes and gashes along his way to doing good. A lot of times he doesn't even really want to do good. He doesn't want to get involved. He's just kind of sitting back, or tries to, for a long time, because he knows what's going to happen. Then he gets roped in. Very similar to, I'd say, might be your number 2. Seeing them two team up, is awesome in the comics in the same scenario. But just a lot of bloodshed in order to do a couple of good things. And, sometimes a stray away from the pack. That's a lot of times if you have a group of people, the anti-hero is going to usually stray away a little bit.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They're going to, it's kind of like Raphael and the Ninja Turtles. Wow, that was a long stretch. But it's kind of going to do a little bit things differently and be a little more aggressive.
Not going to be the team player, but still going to have their own agenda, go get that done, taken care of, but it's still going to ultimately help everybody.
Yeah, like Judas, right? They're going to go a little bit...
No.
So just to let y'all know, at the beginning of the show, I was thinking, does Judas count? Because what he did was bad, but there was a result out of it that was for the ultimate good. So does that count? And then Sean was just like, no, that doesn't count. It's just that's just anti. It's just anti. I was like,
just
okay,
anti.
all right. So my number 3 is Wolverine. All right, number 2.
All right, number 2. Well, if you're a comic book fan, he was already alluded to. You probably picked that up. Is the Punisher, and we have seen Wolverine and the Punisher team up many times. And I mean, enough said, right? I mean, come on, this guy just slaughters all the bad guys in the most violent and horrific ways possible. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, not necessarily a good thing. So
we're speaking from a comic book perspective right now, okay?
Yeah.
This is not our theology coming out.
No, definitely not. So, if you're watching the show, for what was the Netflix series that's now available on D+, or if you watch the movies, he always had good intentions. He was basically a good guy, but then through the trials that he's experienced in his life, the loss that he's experienced in his life, he's become very jaded, solitary person that just wants to exact justice in his own manner and way. So, yeah, Punisher, number 2.
Awesome, man. So I'm actually going to flip my 1 and 2 because I think my number 2 really is the most standout of all of these. Okay. So at this point, my number 2 was Han Solo.
Okay.
All the way back to episode 4, he was just trying to get some money. Luke saw the greediness in him and was like, hey, she's a princess.
Technically, time frame wise, it would be Solo.
Solo, yeah. Well, I guess it in the storyline, it starts in Solo. But in the movie line, it starts in episode 4. Come on, man.
Well, now it starts in Solo.
Yeah. So, but, from the get-go, what can I get out of it? What's in it for me?
Yeah.
And then you end up doing good, just showing up at the last minute to help out, knowing you're not really going to get this big payout and reward. So, honestly, I think Peter Quill, to me, is like the Han Solo of Marvel. It's he's still going to do good. He still wants to get the girl, but, he's got the gun and try to be slick smooth, but he wants that payout.
Oh yeah.
So Rocket Raccoon and Han Solo would be a good crossover, I think. If Disney did a weird crossover blend of shows, I think those two would be good.
And then
Chewbacca and Peter Quill.
That would be interesting.
It would be. Yeah. So Disney Plus, we just gave you an idea. Take it and pay us.
Or just pay us anyway. All right. Well, my number one, we don't talk too much about this particular genre, or not genre, but this particular universe of stories and what have you, too much on the show. But I've always been a big fan ever since I was a kid. So in the new series Star Trek Discovery, we have Philippa Georgiou, who is originally a captain of a starship, but then we get an alternate universe, Emperor Philippa Georgiou, that definitely her own evil agenda, again, ends up coming around and doing good stuff, developing a solid relationship with Michael Burnham, and I don't know what else to say except that, between the actress and the writing for the character, it's epic. I just always fall in love with her. Every time I go back and rewatch, primarily season 2, it's just. If you haven't watched Discovery, it's definitely worth watching for sure. There is liberal agenda in it, so it's Star Trek. Come on, y'all. There is liberal agenda in it, but it's super fun and just some really fantastic writing as well. So
awesome, man, awesome. My number one is House.
Oh,
from the show House, Gregory House.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, and I was like, he fits it perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't really care to help people. He just wants to fix the puzzle. He wants to solve the puzzle.
Right.
So, when it comes to anti-hero, because at the end of the day, he comes across as a hero. He saves their life.
Right.
And if he doesn't save their life, he's mad. But is he mad because he didn't save their life, or is he mad because he didn't fix the puzzle?
And for that matter, you could even argue some of the Sherlocks have been that way as well.
And that's, I'll be honest, that's what made me think of House. I was thinking, would Sherlock count at all? But I see House as the more selfish character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's the more
he's
extreme.
far more self-serving.
Yeah, he's way beyond what I've seen from Sherlock. You've seen way more than I have, so you would know more. But I always saw House as he's just that very selfish, all about me person.
Yeah.
But he's still going to help at the end of the day.
Well, and House was based on Sherlock Holmes anyway, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So, did you see that coming? Oh, yeah. Yeah, Charles Daniels, you said House, unexpected but a great explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't even know how, it was just like, boom. I was like, oh, that's good. And that's why I had to put it at number one. So, honorable mentions. What you got, Sean?
I got The Mandalorian. Yeah.
Boba Fett?
Yeah. That's it.
So I got Jason Todd Red Hood.
Yeah.
And I had to throw my Christianese a little bit. Simon Peter. Mainly because he cut the guy's ear off. Because he was fighting and he was trying to always, he was the fist thrower. I don't know. That might have ended it off weak.
Yeah.
House. Go back to House.
House.
Yeah.
House. Woo! Wow.
Yeah, man. Let us know what your top 5 are. We'd love to see it. Especially if it was somebody different from what we had on our list. Let us know who your top 5 anti-heroes are. We'll be back to talk about the third cultural trend that's killing the church, which this week is going to be lack of volunteerism. Stay tuned.